Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. I'm flying by the seat of my pants again this morning. Here we go. Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, Thursday, January 23rd. Donald Trump doing a sit down with Sean Hannity last night and really touching on some things. He talked about the country's problems, saying they're all solvable. He said we can get our country back. He said, but if a lot of this is stuff you've heard before from Donald Trump. He said, if we didn't win this race, I really believe our country would have been lost forever. He said. So, as you know, Donald Trump has had a busy few days. He has signed a number of executive orders, a number of those aimed at immigration in particular. He has withdrawn from international bodies. He has eliminated DEI programs in the federal government and just a host of other things. And he made some comments last night regarding FEMA that are really driving the news this morning, and you're hearing this from Fox News Radio. And Trump made a comment, it's kind of a great point. He said, I'd rather see the states take care of their own problem. He said, I love Oklahoma, but you know what? If they get hit with a tornado or something, let Oklahoma fix it. And this is what you're not hearing. And this has been very typical of Donald Trump. I think, half of his comment gets shared and the rest of it doesn't. But what he says is, and then the federal government can help them out with the money. FEMA is getting in the way of everything. And the Democrats actually used FEMA not to help North Carolina, he said. So he said, this discussion over FEMA should be a whole big discussion very shortly, and that he would prefer to end FEMA. So end FEMA, and again, let the states, when they have disasters, they respond with funding coming from the federal government, to support states, because you look at some of these. Look at what's, for instance, Los Angeles, which is the fires are still raging in Los Angeles. How is California ever going to be able to respond to that by themselves? California, left to their own devices. And I think the same thing that you saw with the hurricane damage in, along, with the Carolinas and Florida. The Florida didn't get hit the hardest. North and South Carolina took a lot of it. How are those states going to be able to rebuild and react to that all by themselves? I mean, in terms of funding, likely not. So this is what Donald Trump is talking about. Excuse me. So he also went after California Governor Gavin Newsom and ordered him to release the water that comes from the north. He said, I don't think we should give California anything until they let water flow down, he said. So Trump and Newsom have increasingly been trading barbs and so on. So you got environmentalists in California have sued the state, or sued over the order, rather. They're saying the rules would endanger wildlife in the area versus the fires. I mean, give me an absolute break. It's so much of this is just nonsensical, I think. But Trump also talked about the last minute pardons. And these were Biden's pardons for his family and members of the January 6th committee and And Trump said he found it sad that Joe Biden did not pardon himself. He said, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him, Trump said. Trump said he was given the option to pardon himself at the end of his first term, but he chose not to. Trump says, they said, sir, would you like to pardon everybody, including yourself? I said, I'm not going to pardon anybody. We didn't do anything wrong, Trump said. So Hannity asked him whether Joe Biden should be investigated by the Attorney General. And he really didn't answer the question. He started talking about his own legal issues. And when he was asked if Congress should investigate Joe Biden, he said, that's up to them. He said, Joe Biden got very bad advice, like he has in everything. Joe Biden has very bad advisors. Somebody advised Joe Biden to give pardons to everybody but him, Trump said. So they covered a lot of ground on this interview. Hannity also questioned him why he pardoned the rioters, the January 6th rioters. And what he asked, though, is, what about these rioters who became violent with the police officers on that day? And there are a number of folks still who are reacting to that, negatively reacting to what Donald Trump did. So Trump said, they should be allowed to protest the vote. They shouldn't be allowed to, that's what Trump said. Hannity said, well, they shouldn't be allowed to invade the Capitol. And he was discussing Biden's decision not to pardon himself. Hannity said, let me get to the economy. And Trump said, I don't care at that point. I don't care. He was talking about Republican lawmakers and his agenda, and he told Hannity, I don't care how it gets done. That's what he was saying. I don't care as long as we get to the final answer. I like the concept of the one bill. It could be something else, could be a smaller bill and a big bill, but as long as we get to the right answer, Trump said. Which is something that Donald Trump has said, before this. And again, this story involving FEMA, this is a big story this morning also at some of the left-wing media, Axios. Trump said FEMA is a whole nother discussion because all it does is complicate everything. FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. And then again, what he talked about, Oklahoma gets hit by a tornado, he used as an example. Then Oklahoma should respond, and then the federal government supporting the state with funding. That's what Trump suggested. Also, we've got Tom Homan, nation's border czar, who told Fox yesterday in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers. Some of them were rapists. Some of them raped a child, he says. So ICE arresting hundreds of illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, really. And Donald Trump is using that word. The media has for a long time, has tried to move to other terms and other terminology, and what they are, they're aliens. And in this case, they're illegal aliens. So Holman said apprehensions at the southern border had fallen to 766 in the last 24 hours. Now, he was making these comments yesterday. Carolyn Levitt, who is the White House press secretary. Isn't it nice to see somebody? We've got Karine Jean-Pierre and the Ministry of Truth are out. We got Carolyn Levitt now as the White House press secretary. She said Trump will carry out the largest deportation operation of illegal criminals, drug dealers, human traffickers in American history, while simultaneously lowering costs for families. So again, Tom Homan, Donald Trump have warned that these things were coming. And it's really kind of remarkable to see this. So Holman was on Fox and Friends yesterday, and he warned blue cities and states that are trying to fight these mass deportations. He said, game on. He said, we're just trying to help public safety in your community. Help, work with us because you forced us in the community. Here's what's going to happen. We'll find the bad guy, but when we find him, he's going to be with others that may not be a criminal priority. But guess what? If they're in the United States illegally, they're going to be arrested too, he says. Sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in their communities, more people arrested, more collaterals arrested. So that's a game they want to play. Game on, he said. Wow. This is why I love Tom Homan. His response to all of this. And then there are those who are pushing back. So sanctuary cities are going to see more collateral arrests. He was also on Inside Politics on CNN this week. This was Tuesday, talking about this. Dana Bash pressed Holman on how ICE would find people who've committed crimes. And he said there's going to be more collateral arrests in sanctuary cities because they forced us to go into the community and find the guy we're looking for. He said, and then he went after sanctuary cities, and he said law enforcement needs to go into the communities to find migrants who have criminal convictions. And he said, when you release a public safety threat out of a sanctuary jail and they won't give us access to him, that means we got to go to the neighborhood and find him, and we will find him. And when we find him, he may be with others. So Holman is saying the same thing. CNN, Fox and Friends, you're hearing the same thing. He's been very, very clear. Donald Trump is the same way. Holman said others that don't have a criminal conviction and are in the country illegally, they'll be arrested too. He told Dana Bash of CNN this week. So he's making the message has been out there. And also I'm checking this. This story came up as new, and I'm questioning it because it's saying President-elect Donald Trump. Well, I think they're referring. This was before he actually was sworn in. Sunday. This was last Sunday. He said he would visit California to survey the damage. And this was at Capital One Arena then, with his rally prior to being sworn in. So he is to visit California. At least that's what he had been saying tomorrow. Donald Trump expected then to visit California. The other stories kind of regarding this, Texas is placing more buoys along the Rio Grande They started doing this. These are these floating barriers near Eagle Pass. They started doing that immediately after Donald Trump's inauguration. Federal appeals court ruled that Texas could continue deploying the barriers despite a lawsuit from the Biden administration. So they are deploying those again. Interesting poll that's out. This is an Associated Press NORC poll. Many U.S. adults support increasing security at the southern border, with half believing it should be a high priority for the federal government. Only half? Really? Only half? Isn't that shocking? And then they say the vast majority favor deporting immigrants convicted of violent crimes, while support for deporting all immigrants living illegally is divided. And most people are saying, yeah, you can't be doing it at schools and churches. Don't be arresting people who are in the country illegally. Don't be arresting them at schools and churches. What do you think of that? It caught my attention. That's, I think, worthy of a little conversation this morning. Well, Donald Trump, also in his interview with Sean Hannity yesterday, concerned about the Biden administration's policies, also inflation. And I don't know if you heard this on America in the Morning, but the Democrat reaction to they're out there complaining about, well, Donald Trump said he was going to fix the economy, and where's the focus on the economy? And it's like, wow, Democrats are just absolutely lost. I mean, I really wish there was somebody there who would do, when they think about opening their mouths and saying those kinds of things, I wish there was somebody there to go, you might want to hold off. It's just wild. So Trump, talking about all of this, he said, he was talking about his 2 non-consecutive terms. And he said, this is a big deal, is what Trump was saying. It's bigger than if it were more traditional. In other words, winning 2 terms, having one, then instead of Joe Biden winning those 2 terms. This, he's saying, is more consequential. I certainly believe that. I think a lot of other Americans do as well. And Trump said, I think we got there just in the nick of time. He said it's going to take time, money, and effort to fix many of the country's problems, but he believes they're all solvable. We can get our country back, but if we didn't win this race, I really believe our country would have been lost forever. So they touched on a number of different things, but that interview that Donald Trump did with Sean Hannity is a big one this morning. Also yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced a new policy mandating that only the United States flag is authorized to be flown or displayed at all U.S. State Department facilities, both here in the United States and abroad. So in other words, what it means is no more flying LGBTQ, Pride, Black Lives Matter flags at our embassies and consulates across the globe. So I don't know if you caught that. And there are 2 exceptions. The prisoner of war missing in action, that's the POW MIA flag. You likely have seen that. And the wrongful detainees flag are still permitted to be flown. but the LGBTQ pride, the Black Lives Matter flags no longer will be flown at U.S. U.S. embassies and consulates. New York Post says that State Department employees who violate the directive could face disciplinary actions, including termination of employment or reassignment. I would bet more on the first one, given the way Donald Trump is he is getting after it. Again, Democrats critical about where are all the actions on the economy? Trump ran on the economy. What about the economy? And I thought, well, that's nice, isn't it? You create the biggest mess the world has ever seen, and then they're carping that Donald Trump has not even been president a week yet. What, a couple of days he's been president. They're already complaining. What about the economy? He said he was going to fix the economy. It's crazy town out there, boys and girls. But that's a look at the big stories this morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show, 627. Partly cloudy in 1. It feels like 15 below here at Kello.
Camp and Robbins, weekdays at 2. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires. They give you more tire. Oh, man, I'm rushing around this morning like it.
We're too small. There is going to be a solution.
Excuse me.
Ideas, the suggestions. We as a consumer have to have someone to be there protecting us, giving us ideas, helping us down that journey. So you're putting your time, your money, your energy into a remodel. We don't worry. When we go in, we don't second guess. You know you're taken care of. I trust them. My name is Julie Roman, and I'm from Brandon, South Dakota. At Handyman, it's a different experience. They keep taking care of one family at a time, giving you ideas how to make your project be more cost efficient, more time saving, more water saving. That's a big deal. I'm very thankful for everything that they can offer. It's the entire package. You're going to get dependability, perfection, attention to detail, always a solution.
Shop our biggest faucet sale of the year. Over 250 faucets in stock and on sale in January. A couple blocks west of 10th and Cliff, Sioux Falls.
Disaster strikes. The food supply is the first domino to fall. It can start quietly, an emergency alert, a breaking news headline. But within hours, reality sets in. People rush to grocery stores, emptying shelves of everything from bread to canned goods. Lines stretch out the door, tempers flare, and desperation takes hold. And no matter who's in charge these days, you simply can't rely on the government to bail you out. That's why having an emergency food supply on hand is the right move for you and your family. Right now, you can get $50 off a 4-week emergency food kit at mypatriotsupply.com. They're an American company trusted by millions, offering 2,000 calories per day with essential vitamins and minerals to keep you strong during a crisis. This food will be there for you when you need it, since it lasts up to 25 years and can ship out to you next day. Go to mypatriotsupply.com now to get $50 off your 4-week emergency food kit. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Mostly sunny skies today in the Sioux Falls area. Chilly weather with a high around 20 degrees.
I got a sore throat developing. Big lump
Tonight, a few clouds. Temperature
bothering me this morning.
Turning a little warmer with a southwest breeze, mostly cloudy. High temperature 36, nearing 30 and breezy on Saturday.
Currently, it's partly cloudy in 1. It feels like 15 below currently at Kello. Joe Bowman's at the Kello.com News Center with details. Authorities giving the all clear after no explosives were found at the new prison site in Lincoln County. Details coming up here on Kello.
I'm Chris Foster. President Trump is sending 1,500 more troops to start to the southern border to help with deportation flights for migrants already in custody. Tells Fox's Sean Hannity so-called sanctuary cities protecting people in the country illegally could lose federal funding.
We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big example.
Cut off their money.
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do.
Meantime, he's naming the head of his Secret Service security detail, Sean Curran, as Secret Service director. 7 police officers are shot and wounded in San Antonio, Texas, responding to a call about a suicidal man barricaded inside an apartment.
The suspect was found to be deceased. We don't know if he was shot by a self-inflicted wound or whether or not shot by SWAT officers.
San Antonio Police Chief William McManus says the man was arrested last Saturday on assault and drunk driving charges and was free on bond. America's listening to Fox News.
Hello, News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Hello.com News Center. Authorities are giving the all clear after no explosives were found at the new prison site in Lincoln County. Police responded to a report earlier yesterday of a potential explosive threat at the site between Harrisburg and Canton. Bomb techs and an explosive K-9 unit were dispatched to sweep the area, but found nothing. The call came from a concerned citizen who saw people near old farm buildings that had previously housed agricultural explosive materials. Both DCI and Lincoln County law enforcement officially gave the all clear to the area. Authorities continue to gather clues to figure out why a woman was found dead from cold exposure in Sioux Falls. The body of 35-year-old Cassandra Shields was found Sunday night on the far western edge of town near Madison Street and Ellis Road. Police have received multiple tipster calls since then, with one reporting Shields had been seen in that area before. Investigators are looking into Cassandra's cell phone records and any possible surveillance video footage. Foul play has not been ruled out yet. Authorities believe it was exposure to the extreme cold that led to Shields' death. An autopsy is still pending. The vehicle of 2 fishermen has been found after falling through the ice on the Missouri River near Akaska last week. Both 51-year-old Kent Kramer and 71-year-old Brad Schilling have been missing since. Despite the vehicle being found, searchers have been unable to determine if their bodies are inside. Walworth County authorities say current conditions are making the search difficult. The search has been put on hold and will continue when the weather improves. The population of Sioux Falls is growing, but the city's homeless population is growing much faster. Officials say the homeless population here in Sioux Falls grew nearly 20% in the last 2 years. The city is hosting its first regional homelessness forum today to work on that problem. And in college men's basketball, the Coyotes and the Jackrabbits are on the road today. USD face off against North Dakota, and SDSU takes on Kansas City. Both games tip off tonight at 7. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly sunny skies today and chilly. Our high temperature at just 20 degrees. Northwest winds at 10 to 15. For tonight, light wind, mainly clear skies, a low near 7 degrees. And then tomorrow, southwest breeze and a little warmer with mostly cloudy skies and a high at 36. That's your weather update from the Storm Center at Kettleland TV. I'm meteorologist Brian Carstens.
Having trouble receiving
Boy, the number of news stories involving Donald Trump that are trending is just huge. About 90% of that stack of stuff is all about Trump and the actions that Trump is taking.
Narcissistic and dishonest celebrities are using TikTok and GoFundMe to exploit kind-hearted, gullible fans, making them victims too. I'm Kim Commando for DraftKings Sportsbook. Stay tuned to hear all that DraftKings has to offer. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Reality star Spencer Pratt and his wife.
I didn't sleep well at all last night. I was up, I don't know, I fell asleep pretty easily. And then I woke up and one of those nights where you lay awake for like 3 hours and then you finally get back to sleep, And so it's not a surprise my waking up with a sore throat. I hate start getting run down,
A life-changing amount of money. Don't be a victim. The only reliable way to contribute is at redcross.org. Stay up to date on all things digital.
Okay.
600,000 folks at getkim.com. Have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings yet?
Good morning to all of you. Hope you're all doing well.
As the official daily fantasy
Thanks so much for being here.
NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else, and DraftKings is making it even sweeter for first-timers. New Pick 6 customers play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code KIMK. That's code KIMK for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. The Kim Commando Show. Live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320.
All right, there we go.
Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renault by Anderson Picture and Combination Windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in the bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
It's the Halberstadt's annual BOGO sales event. Select from an incredible collection of designer suits and sport coats during this buy one, get one free event. Only at Halberstadt's Galleria.
It's tax time, and if you need help, call Nest Tax and Bookkeeping Service, voted your local best for 19 years in a row. Nest Tax is locally owned, professionally staffed, with enrolled agents and CPAs, and they're ready to put their knowledge to work for you. Nest Tax is open extended hours and weekends at 2 convenient Sioux Falls locations to serve you. Think you might owe? Find out how much. You can still file now and pay the IRS by April 15th. Nest Tax could find a way for you to owe less, or maybe not even have to pay Uncle Sam at all. The IRS says don't paper file or send in checks. Go to Nest Tax and e-file your return and use direct deposit or direct debit. Call Nest Tax today or schedule with them online at nesttax.com. That's nesttax.com. You're more than just a number at Nest. Locally owned, locally known, locally the best.
The Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Mostly sunny skies today in the Sioux Falls area. Chilly weather with a high around 20 degrees. Northwest wind at 10-15. Tonight, a few clouds. Temperature at 7. And tomorrow, turning a little warmer with a southwest breeze. Mostly cloudy. High temperature 36. Nearing 30 and breezy on Saturday. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:38. It's partly cloudy and 1. It feels like 15 below. We've got a bit of a wind chill back this morning. So just be mindful. It's felt a lot warmer yesterday morning. You eliminate that wind chill. It's amazing how much warmer things feel. But it'll be warming up as we head into the weekend, as you just heard, especially into next week. Some warmer days ahead. Great to have you along.
Trending now.
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Olympic gold medalist Clete Keller was among the 1,500 defendants who had been charged on January 6th in the riots at the U.S. Capitol. And Keller was pardoned by Donald Trump on Monday. And Keller, in his first interview since being arrested, said it didn't feel real. And he said, in waking up this morning, I was like, my gosh, wow, this is over. I don't have to check in with my probation officer anymore. And Keller, like many that I have heard, Keller said, I really regret the actions I took that day. I love this country. I'm just so grateful that I have the opportunity now to move forward, he said. So he is a 3-time Olympic swimmer, admitted to tossing his U.S. Olympic team jacket that he wore that day and destroying his phone. And this was an interview with the Washington Post. And he said he struggled under the weight of the justice system, but accepted the consequences of his decision. And he never expected a pardon. He said, I'm still trying to comprehend it. I feel like something has been restored to me. You know, I'm not angry. I'm not a victim. I feel blessed to have this opportunity of life again. I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm going to take these lessons forward. Kind of inspirational in the way that he's looking at it, I think, despite some of his actions that were a little less than inspirational. Also, Pete Hegseth trending this morning. The Senate Armed Services Committee, which is reviewing Hegseth's nomination, has received new allegations against Hegseth. This time they're coming from his former sister-in-law regarding the treatment of his second wife. And she says that Hegseth's ex-wife had hidden from him once. She also claims that Hegseth had drunkenly yelled at her at least once, frequently abused alcohol around family, made disparaging comments about Mexican Americans. And then it's Hegseth's ex-wife who shot all of that down. She said, first and foremost, I have not and will not comment on my marriage to Pete Hegseth. I do not have representatives speaking on my behalf, nor have I ever. So in other words, she's responding to her family. I do not have representatives speaking on my behalf, nor have I ever asked anyone to share or speak about the details of my marriage on my behalf, whether it be a reporter, a committee member, a transition team member, etc. So how credible is that? They are just really anxious to try to derail Pete Hegseth's nomination. Also, the Lincoln Riley Act heading to President Donald Trump's desk. It's expected to be the first bill that he signs into law. So this had passed the House pretty overwhelmingly January 7th and passed the Senate in a bipartisan vote. And so it's on its way to Donald Trump's desk. I haven't seen anything about him signing that as of yet. Speaking of Donald Trump, he and First Lady Melania Trump are celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary. They just celebrated it. This was actually, it was yesterday. So yesterday was their milestone anniversary. And the president put out a note on social media saying, happy 20th anniversary to Melania. And I think a lot of the reports actually get back to their initial wedding. Also, Pentagon deploying as many as 1,500 additional active duty forces to the country's southern border, the White House said yesterday, following through on Donald Trump's executive order. Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said the deployment will help carry out Trump's promise of a border crackdown. One senior defense official said this was yesterday, said the troops had already begun to deploy to the border, and they would begin operating there within 24 to 48 hours. 1,500 troops included 1,000 Army personnel, 500 Marines. The Marines were assigned to respond to the wildfires in California, will now be reassigned to the border. And they'll be placing physical barriers, among other actions that they'll be taking on the border. Their military aircraft that will be used there. In fact, 4 of them, 2 C-17s and 2 C-130 planes will be deployed as they begin to take action. So as we talk about that, you've got the sanctuary city crackdown. Donald Trump's directing federal prosecutors to investigate city and state officials who resist his immigration enforcement efforts. This is a memo from the Justice Department. And as I mentioned to you earlier this morning, Tom Homan announced that ICE has already arrested 308 illegals on Tuesday, including some who have been charged with murder and child rape, Holman says. He also promised to restart immigration raids, including the sanctuary cities, for instance, San Francisco, Chicago, Detroit, New York City, all run by Democrats who are refusing to comply with the crackdowns in the federal immigration law. Trump signed this week 10 executive orders related to the border and immigration policy on Monday. Also, Donald Trump and the war in Ukraine. And Donald Trump sent a message to Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday, telling him to make a deal now to end the war in Ukraine. And Trump said it's time to, capital letters, make a deal. No more lives should be lost, he said on social media. And he said if a deal isn't made quickly, he would place high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on Russia. And then there are those who are responding to that and saying, yeah, Russia's already got a pretty high level of tariffs and sanctions. And can the United States harm Russia any more than we are currently, or attempting to do, trying to get them into line? Will that happen? Kind of remains to be seen. Among those who were pardoned by Donald Trump this week, this is a woman who is the self-proclaimed ex-MAGA granny. So she had been a supporter of Donald Trump, winds up getting arrested. Now she's opposed to Donald Trump, and she is refusing her pardon. And as to what is fueling that, I have no idea. She says, I'm not going to be bullied by MAGA anymore, as those who went as far as calling my probation officer, trying to get me in trouble, backfired on them, thinking I would stop speaking out, just gives me more confidence to continue. I will refuse a pardon from felon Trump, she says. And then she tags Adam Kinzinger. Okay. Also, and why the change? I don't know. I understand. First of all, I just don't understand folks who are, like those who are demeaning, sending threatening messages and upset with these folks and what they did one way or the other. I'm just like, I'd rather concentrate on my own actions. And also trending this morning, the Trump administration has canceled flights for about over 1,600 Afghan refugees. So they were cleared by the U.S. government under Joe Biden to resettle in the United States. They're now having their flights canceled under Donald Trump's order to suspend U.S. refugee programs. And this is a U.S. official and a leading an advocate for refugee resettlement. And that story has been trending, but the Trump administration canceling those flights. Also, Donald Trump ordering more water for the Southern California to fight the wildfires. Excuse me. Trump said, as he signed an executive order then to route more water to the state for use by the people there who desperately need a reliable water supply. And he pointed to the fires, and he said that this is why this plan must immediately be re-implemented. He said on Truth Social, Governor Gavin Newsom refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water from excess rain and snowmelt to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way, he said. Also, we're learning about Joe Biden's final letter then to Donald Trump. The president left a letter in the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, which Donald Trump found. It's now been released. And the letter says, "Dear President Trump, as I take leave of this sacred office, I wish you and your family all the best in the next 4 years. The American people and people around the world look to this house for steadiness in the inevitable storms of history. And my prayer is that in the coming years, will be a time of prosperity, peace, and grace for our nation. May God bless you and guide you as he has blessed and guided our beloved country since our founding." Joe Biden. So Donald Trump then reacting to that, and Trump said it was a very nice letter. It was a little bit of an inspirational type letter. Enjoy it, do a good job. Important, very important. How important the job is, Trump said. So that's the letter that President Biden left for Donald Trump. Also, story trending this morning. And again, some of these stories I know are a little bit dated. That's typical of trending news stories. But just hours after Trump's inauguration, his administration revoked the Biden policy that prohibited arrest by ICE at or near people who are in the country illegally. Okay, they're in the country illegally. And they could not be arrested near schools, places of worship, or other places that are deemed to be sensitive locations. And so Trump is revoking that. He is revoking that. Also, I have to admit to you, this makes me laugh. Donald Trump has terminated the Secret Service detail that was assigned to John Bolton. So Bolton confirmed this to CNN earlier this week. So remember, Bolton left the Trump White House. He'd been at odds with Donald Trump a number of times. I think almost as often as Bolton agrees with Trump, he disagrees with Trump, and he's really vocal. And so Bolton said, "I'm disappointed but not surprised that President Trump has made this decision, notwithstanding my criticisms of President Biden's national security policies. He nonetheless made the decision to once again extend Secret Service protection to me in 2021, and he just goes on. So he's concerned about the threat from Iran, that they had hired a hitman to target me in 2022. One might breathe easier with Donald Trump's focus on the border and what's going on right now. Also, a federal judge on Tuesday blocked the release of the second volume of special counsel Jack Smith's report on the investigation into Donald Trump. So Judge Eileen Cannon had allowed the first volume to be released to a small group in Congress, and the release of Volume 2, she said, presents a substantial and unacceptable risk of prejudice to defendants. And so it will not be released. Other stories that are trending this morning: Netflix is increasing the cost of its streaming plans in the U.S., including the cheaper tier that they have. There's the cheaper ad-supported tier then, so you get commercials with your Netflix. They're increasing the price of that as well. So they said they will hike most of their membership plans in Canada, Portugal, Argentina as well as the U.S. Also, the Baseball Hall of Fame, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, and Shiro Suzuki have been elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And then finally this morning, Meta says it's working urgently to fix a problem with Instagram, that when users search for the terms Democrat or Democrats, it says results hidden. And so some social media users have accused the company of political bias, and Meta says, no, that's not the case. Actually, it's a technical problem, which has also affected other hashtags. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks for beginning your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. Always great to have you along. Partly cloudy and one. It feels like 15 below. And you're listening to Kello. Thank you, my friend, for being here. Please come back at 9:30 for the 4th hour. I'll see you again then, or I'll hope to hear you on the radio. So we open up the phone lines coming up shortly. Otherwise, have a great day. See you again soon.
Problem solving, outthinking and outdoing the competition.